Let me tell you something most people don't want to hear. Life is not cruel, but it is honest. And life has a way of correcting what you refuse to confront. If you don't fix your mindset, life will fix it through failure. If you don't fix your habits, life will fix them through loss. If you don't fix your character, life will fix it through consequences you didn't see coming. See, discipline is voluntary, but pain is mandatory. You can choose growth while it's uncomfortable, or you can wait until discomfort chooses you. Most people think time is on their side, but time is neutral. It doesn't reward intentions. It responds to actions. And the longer you delay becoming who you're supposed to be, the more expensive the lesson becomes. The question isn't, will life correct you? The question is whether you'll do it first, while you still have a choice. Let me start here because this is where most people misunderstand how life really works. Life is not emotional. Life is not sentimental. Life is not impressed by your intentions, your excuses, or your potential. Life is transactional. It always has been. Everything in life has a cost, and sooner or later, life will collect payment. The only question is not whether you will pay, but how you will pay and when you will pay. See, there are two ways to pay in life. You can pay up front with discipline, or you can pay later with regret. Discipline costs you comfort. Regret costs you years. Discipline costs you effort. Regret costs you opportunity. Discipline costs you focus. Regret costs you peace of mind. And what most people do is they look at the price of discipline and say, that's too expensive. But they never stop to calculate the cost of regret. They never add up what procrastination really costs over a lifetime. Every habit you refuse to fix today puts interest on the bill. Every conversation you avoid, every boundary you don't set, every standard you lower, it doesn't disappear. It gets added to the account. And life is patient, but it is precise. It will wait until the balance is high enough, then it will collect all at once. That's why people wake up one day and say, I don't know how I got here. You didn't get there suddenly. You paid for it slowly. The truth is, success is not about doing extraordinary things once in a while. It's about paying small prices consistently, getting up early when you don't feel like it, doing the work when nobody's watching, saying no to distractions that feel good now but steal from you later. These are small payments, but they protect you from massive losses down the road. Most people want the rewards of discipline without the responsibility of discipline, and life doesn't work that way. Life does not negotiate, it enforces. If you don't enforce structure on yourself, life will enforce chaos on you. If you don't manage your time, life will manage it for you through missed deadlines and lost opportunities. If you don't discipline your spending, life will discipline you through debt. If you don't discipline your thinking, life will discipline you through repeated failure. Either way, the lesson gets taught. What you have to understand is this: pain is not the enemy. Unprepared pain is. Discipline is simply choosing your pain in advance. It's choosing the discomfort that leads to growth instead of the suffering that leads to regret. Most people avoid discipline because it hurts their feelings. But feelings are temporary and consequences are permanent. Life doesn't respond to how you feel. It responds to what you do repeatedly. And here's where it gets real. The price doesn't stay the same. The longer you delay, the higher it gets. What costs you effort at 20 will cost you health at 40. What costs you focus at 30 will cost you peace at 50. Time doesn't reduce the bill, it multiplies it. That's why waiting is never neutral. Waiting is expensive. You see, when life collects payment, it doesn't ask if you're ready. It doesn't check your schedule. It doesn't care about your past wins or your future plans. It collects when the payment is due. And most people don't realize the due date is set by their daily choices. Every day, you either move the balance down with discipline or let interest pile up with excuses. So the smartest move you can make is to start paying early. Pay with consistency. Pay with humility. Pay with the willingness to do what's hard now so life doesn't force you to do what's harder later, because life will always collect what it's owed. Pay the price now, before the price decides to collect itself. Let me take you deeper, because this is where most people quietly lose their future. What you tolerate doesn't stay small. It doesn't stay manageable. It doesn't stay contained. What you tolerate grows, it settles in, it becomes normal, and eventually it becomes your life. Your future isn't created by what you desire. It's created by what you allow. See, tolerance is dangerous because it doesn't feel like failure at first. It feels harmless. It feels temporary. It feels like, I'll deal with it later. You tolerate waking up late. You tolerate distraction stealing your focus. You tolerate people disrespecting your time. You tolerate habits that drain your energy. And none of it seems fatal in the moment. But life is built on accumulation. Small compromises compound into permanent conditions. What you allow repeatedly teaches life how to treat you. When you tolerate mediocrity, life gives you average results. When you tolerate chaos, life gives you instability. When you tolerate laziness, life gives you limitation. Life is always responding to your standards, not your intentions. You don't get what you want. You get what you tolerate. Most people think tolerance is patience, but it's not. Patience is temporary and purposeful. Tolerance is passive and costly. Patience says, I'm working on this. Tolerance says, I've accepted this. And once you accept something, you stop challenging it. Once you stop challenging it, it starts shaping you. That's how people wake up years later living a life they never planned, but perfectly tolerated. Look at any area where someone feels stuck, and you'll find something they've been putting up with. A mindset they haven't corrected, a habit they haven't confronted, a standard they lowered because holding it felt uncomfortable. Comfort is the reward of tolerance, but comfort always sends the bill later. The longer you tolerate what's wrong, the harder it becomes to fix it. Here's the truth most people avoid. Tolerance is a decision. Not choosing is still choosing. Ignoring is still allowing. Hoping it goes away is still agreeing to live with it. Every day you don't raise your standards, you reinforce the ones you already have. And standards are powerful because they quietly dictate your behavior even when motivation is gone. You don't rise to your goals, you fall to your standards. If your standard allows excuses, excuses will dominate your life. If your standard allows inconsistency, inconsistency will define your results. If your standard allows disrespect, disrespect will become familiar. Life doesn't test what you say you want, it tests what you're willing to stop tolerating. And this is where discipline shows up again. Discipline is simply refusing to tolerate what no longer aligns with who you're becoming. It's saying, this ends here. It's deciding that the discomfort of change is cheaper than the pain of staying the same. Growth always begins with intolerance, not toward people, but toward patterns that keep you small. The reason tolerance is so seductive is because it protects you from short-term pain. Correcting yourself hurts your ego. Setting boundaries creates tension. Raising standards makes some people uncomfortable, including you. But avoiding that discomfort doesn't eliminate pain. It postpones it. And postponed pain always comes back with interest. Life has a way of amplifying what you ignore. The thing you tolerate quietly today becomes the crisis you can't avoid tomorrow. The habit you brush off becomes the limitation you can't break. The standard you lower becomes the ceiling you can't surpass. That's not punishment. That's consequence. If you want a different future, you have to stop tolerating the version of yourself that keeps producing the same results. Change doesn't start with massive action. It starts with a decision to no longer accept what's been holding you back. The moment you raise your standards, life has no choice but to respond. Stop tolerating what's costing you your future. Let me say this plainly because this is where people deceive themselves the most. Delay is not neutral. Delay is not harmless. Delay is a decision wearing a disguise. Every time you say not now, you are saying yes to something else. And most of the time, what you're saying yes to is the very future you claim you don't want. People think delay is patience, but it's not. Patience is intentional and purposeful. Delay is avoidance dressed up as logic. It sounds reasonable. It sounds mature. It says, I just need more time, or I'll start when things calm down, or I'm waiting for the right moment. But the truth is, the right moment rarely announces itself. The right moment is usually disguised as inconvenience, discomfort, or uncertainty. And when you delay action, life doesn't pause with you. Life keeps moving and it starts making decisions on your behalf. Every delayed decision becomes an automatic vote for the status quo. If you don't decide to change your habits, you've decided to keep them. If you don't decide to grow, you've decided to stay where you are. If you don't decide to take responsibility, you've decided to let circumstances control you. There is no middle ground. Not choosing is choosing. What makes delay so dangerous is that it feels safe. It doesn't demand courage. It doesn't challenge your identity. It allows you to stay comfortable while convincing yourself you're still thinking about it. But clarity doesn't come before action. It comes from action. Most people are waiting to feel ready, but readiness is a byproduct of movement, not contemplation. Delay quietly trains you to distrust yourself. Every promise you make to yourself and don't keep weakens your self-respect. Every time you postpone what you know you should do, you send yourself a message. My word doesn't matter. And when your word doesn't matter to you, it won't matter to life either. That's how confidence erodes, not all at once, but decision by decision. Life rewards speed, not perfection. The world doesn't wait for you to be fully prepared. Opportunities don't sit around hoping you'll build courage. They move toward the person who's willing to act with imperfect information. Delay keeps you stuck in analysis while someone else with less talent but more urgency steps into the space that could have been yours. And here's the part most people don't see coming. Delayed decisions don't disappear. They stack. One delay turns into a pattern. A pattern turns into a lifestyle. And a lifestyle turns into a destiny. That's why people wake up years later wondering where the time went. Time didn't go anywhere. It was spent on hesitation. The cost of delay always shows up later, and it's never discounted. What you delay fixing today becomes harder to fix tomorrow. What you delay learning becomes a gap you struggle to close later. What you delay confronting grows more complex with time. Delay never makes things easier. It only makes them heavier. You don't need more time. You need more decisiveness. You don't need perfect conditions. You need commitment. Life doesn't require you to get everything right. It requires you to get started. Momentum is built by movement, not motivation. And once you move, motivation tends to follow. The most powerful people aren't the ones who never feel fear. They're the ones who refuse to let fear decide for them. Delay is fear's favorite strategy. It doesn't stop you outright, it just convinces you to wait. And waiting feels passive, but it's active sabotage. Every day you delay becoming disciplined, focused, and intentional is a day life continues shaping you by default. If you don't decide your future, life will assign you one, and life's assignments are rarely aligned with your dreams. The moment you decide to act, before you feel ready, before you feel confident, before you feel certain, you interrupt the cycle. Decision creates direction. Direction creates momentum. Momentum creates change. Stop delaying the life you know you're meant to live. Decide now. Let's go even deeper, because everything on the outside of your life is simply a reflection of what's happening on the inside. Your results are never random. They're not luck. They're not accidents. They are evidence. Evidence of how you think, what you believe, and what you consistently tell yourself is possible. Your inner world is always at work, even when you're not paying attention. Most people try to change their circumstances without ever addressing their mindset. They want better outcomes, better relationships, better income, better opportunities, but they keep the same thinking that created the problems in the first place. And life doesn't work like that. You don't fix external problems with internal dysfunction. If the root stays the same, the fruit will too. Your thoughts shape your decisions shape your habits shape your lifestyle, and your lifestyle shapes your destiny. That means the real battleground isn't out there, It's in here. If you don't intentionally upgrade your thinking, life will keep exposing it through repeated outcomes you can't escape. That's why patterns keep showing up. Different people, same problems. New environment, old results. New year, same frustrations. It's not bad luck. It's unexamined thinking. Life is simply holding up a mirror and saying, this is what you've been operating from. And until you're willing to confront that mirror, the reflection won't change. Your inner world determines what you notice, what you tolerate, and what you pursue. If you believe you're behind, you'll rush and make poor decisions. If you believe you're not enough, you'll settle for less than you deserve. If you believe success is scarce, you'll sabotage opportunities out of fear. Life doesn't argue with your beliefs, it obeys them. What's dangerous is that broken thinking often feels normal. You don't question it because you've lived with it so long. Limiting beliefs feel like facts. Negative self-talk sounds like realism. Fear disguises itself as wisdom, and life keeps responding accordingly, reinforcing the very mindset that's holding you back. That's why discipline at the thought level is non-negotiable. You can't allow every thought to live rent-free in your mind. Just because a thought shows up doesn't mean it deserves a vote. If you don't manage your thinking will manage you, and usually in the direction of least resistance, not greatest growth. Life has a way of pressuring what's weak inside you. If your confidence is fragile, life will test it. If your focus is shallow, life will distract you. If your identity is unclear, life will confuse you. Pressure doesn't create character, it reveals it. And what's revealed is always what was already there. You don't rise to the level of your hopes, you fall to the level of your mindset. That's why real change starts internally. When you change how you think, you change how you choose. When you change how you choose, you change what you experience. And when that happens, life has no choice but to respond differently. Stop blaming the environment for what your mindset is producing. Stop waiting for external change to fix internal inconsistency. The moment you take responsibility for your inner world, you reclaim control over your outer results. Life isn't against you, it's responding to you. Fix the inside, and the outside will follow. Let me close this by telling you the truth about pain, because most people misunderstand it. Pain is not the problem. Pain is information. Pain is feedback. Pain is life's way of getting your attention when discipline didn't. And whether you like it or not, pain is one of life's greatest teachers. The only mistake is waiting until pain becomes your instructor instead of choosing discipline as your guide. There are two kinds of pain you will experience in life. One is the pain of discipline, and the other is the pain of regret. The pain of discipline weighs ounces. The pain of regret weighs tons. Discipline hurts early, but it heals you later. Regret feels harmless early, but it breaks you later. And the difference between the two is not intelligence, talent, or luck. It's choice. Most people avoid discipline because it feels uncomfortable. It challenges their routine. It demands consistency. It exposes excuses, but what they don't realize is that avoiding discipline doesn't eliminate pain. It just delays it. Life never removes the lesson. If you skip the classroom, you'll get the exam without the notes. Discipline is simply choosing the pain that produces growth. It's waking up when you don't feel like it. It's doing what's necessary instead of what's convenient. It's telling yourself no now so life doesn't tell you no later. Discipline is not punishment, it's protection. It protects your future from your present impulses. Pain, on the other hand, shows up when discipline is absent. Pain shows up as stress, frustration, missed opportunities, broken relationships, and unrealized potential. Pain shows up when life forces you to confront what you refuse to address voluntarily. And when pain teaches, it doesn't whisper, it shouts. Here's what most people miss. Pain is never random. It's precise. It shows you exactly where you've been undisciplined. Financial pain exposes financial neglect. Emotional pain exposes emotional immaturity. Physical pain exposes physical neglect. Life always teaches the lesson in the area you ignored. Always. Discipline feels expensive in the moment, but pain is always more costly. Discipline costs effort. Pain costs identity. Discipline costs time. Pain costs years. Discipline asks for consistency. Pain demands consequences. And once pain takes over as the teacher, you don't get to choose the curriculum. It chooses for you. That's why wise people don't wait for pain to motivate them. They move before the pressure arrives. They correct habits while they're small. They confront weakness while it's manageable. They choose structure before chaos chooses them. They understand that prevention is cheaper than recovery. Life is not impressed by potential. It responds to preparation, and preparation always requires discipline. The reason discipline feels hard is because it asks you to sacrifice who you are for who you could become. Pain asks you to sacrifice who you could have been for who you settled to be. And let me be clear, pain will come either way. The question is not if you will experience pain, but which kind you will choose. The pain of discipline comes with progress. The pain of regret comes with shame. One builds you, the other breaks you. One leads to freedom, the other leads to limitation. The people you admire didn't avoid pain. They chose it early. They chose the pain of growth when others chose comfort. They chose the pain of focus when others chose distraction. They chose the pain of discipline when others chose delay. And life rewarded them not because it was fair, but because it was consistent. If you want a different future, you must become intolerant of avoidable pain later by embracing intentional discipline now. Don't wait for life to humble you. Don't wait for loss to wake you up. Don't wait for consequences to force clarity. Choose discipline while you still have the power of choice. Because discipline is the pain you control, and regret is the pain that controls you.